Um, this is Crowder goes head to head with a college wrestler on gender roles. I don't know why he didn't just name it what's in here, which is women should not be in combat roles. Change my mind. That seems to be the conversation. So this was posted like 5 days ago. I'm interested to watch the conversation. This is I don't know. I really don't know how I feel. I don't really know how I feel specifically about combat roles. I think that there are unique things that men and women can bring to the table. I also think there's a lot of jobs where it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. But like, for instance, a police officer. I could see why female, like women police officers could be incredible or would be incredibly useful. Most traffic stops and all that nonsense, you don't need to be like physically assertive. But I think it could help a lot to have a woman at the scene, especially if, for a domestic abuse situation, right? I could see why that against a woman, of course. It can make her feel more comfortable. So I get stuff like that. But for this, I don't know. When it comes to non-combat roles, like whatever. When it comes to combat roles, I don't know. I have my wife has like a military veteran in her family, and there seems to be some statistics that suggest that women may have lower reaction times, and this isn't to be disparaging, but one of the biggest ones, interesting point that he had made to me was that women, when a woman's in a squad with other men, the men have a weird urge to try to overprotect her. You know what I mean? Whereas I guess that goes against what you're necessarily supposed to do, and to a point where it might put them in danger. Or there might be an argument of like men trying to impress that woman in some capacity, which like was obviously these are men's issues more than anything else, but I could understand like the dynamic when it comes there. So it's very complicated. So I'm interested in seeing some discourse on it. Yeah, so let's get this going.
If they continue to harass you, ask them, are you challenging me to a fight? So psychologically, the bully has a choice to make. Either yes, in which case you use what you know, or if he says most of the time he'll say no, it's de-escalated. But you can only ask that question if you know the answer is yes, then you can handle it. Women can't handle it if they're in an inner city and a man is on PCP. Sports are...
I suppose. I don't know if I don't know if I could handle going up against a guy on PCP, bro. That turns you into a goblin. What do you mean? What? Why you sad, brother?
Became a member.
Hey, thank you so much for the small gut, brother.
Sort of allegorical, analogous for war, right? In a lot of ways, it's a way of sort of competing with that.
His audio's kind of bad, don't you think? Like, considering he's a millionaire.
And on PCP, sports are sort of allegorical, analogous for war, right? In a lot of ways, it's a way of sort of competing without killing each other. So take wrestling, where we know it's not even remotely competitive. Now apply killing. We need the most effective fighting force possible. Just like I wouldn't send out a woman, for example, to wrestle Cale Sanderson. I wouldn't send a woman who can't do a pull-up. And that's the majority of female recruits in the military. I would not send her out to war.
The majority of female combat recruits can't do a pull-up? I feel like that's not correct. Female recruits can't do a pull-up. I just don't believe that. Listen, here's one thing I kind of understand, is that it's like... I'm pretty sure most female recruits don't meet new pull-up standards. They can do a pull-up, but they might not reach the standards. See, that's a better argument. I don't know why he says it like that. This is from 2013, so this is pretty dated. But I understand that they have different standards for men and women when it comes to being in the military. And I understand it, but then at the same time, if you're in a combat role, I get that you would want like the best of the best. However, one counter argument to what he's saying, comparing fighting to... like wrestling to combat, is like a gun is an equalizer, right? However, again, like if you need to drag your partner and it happens to be a heavy guy, like 180 pound, 200 pound man, and a woman can't do it, like I could see why that might be a problem in the military, right?
She doesn't lose a match. She loses her life, and so does the guy next to her relying on her.
Possibly.
I think it's important, more important than diversity.
Again, I'm going to bring it back to the standard point. I think that's an issue with the standards we have in the military, in the police force. I think the standards aren't high enough. Again,
that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. If she's saying that like they should hold women to the same standards as men, then like she has a pretty strong argument. So if you could find those women that are, you got your Berthas, you got those big girls, muscular, picking them up. I gotcha. Those Russian women, really, they're fucking, the huge, right?
We argue like that there is a biological difference, but again, you're also talking about people have guns, they have a lot of technological advancements. Today's military, technologically, is off the charts. Like, it is crazy how much money we put into the military every single day, technologically advancing ourselves.
Sure.
So...
I actually agree with the statement you just made. I think it's very important. Where you said, for example, guns, advancement, let's just say in firearms. That does equalize the playing field, right, in a lot of ways.
Sure.
Okay, so it's a perfect example. For the same reason I support women being able to carry firearms, and I actually support them carrying firearms because it's the only way to be stronger than a man. It's a mechanical advantage, right? Yes, we have advances in firearms. It's still the only way that a woman can overpower a strong man. Flip side of that coin, the police force, a woman will have to use a firearm. She'll have to use a weapon because she can't physically subdue a man.
Okay. Interesting argument. I've never really heard about that before, but that's an interesting concept. Obviously, I have to work through it more. Okay, so what he's saying is that because now he's getting into an idea of like not really bringing a woman to like as a police officer. It seems like he's speaking on not having women as police officers because if something escalated, they would have to use a gun more quickly than a man. Okay, fair enough. I would say though that like the guy shouldn't be escalating on them. So if he ends up getting shot because he decided to aggress onto a woman who needed to use a gun more quickly, then you don't mess with women. I mean, it is what it is, brother. Like I said, I think women can be very beneficial, especially when it comes to those like domestic abuse types cases. I think women tend to be a little more empathetic. That might be able to bring a little bit of levity to a situation. Although some women cops or some women in power, and like this is just an observation, not all women at all, because I've had amazing women bosses, but some women can overcompensate and feel like they have to like be additionally assertive because they're a woman because they feel like people won't respect them. But then on the other hand, some men may not respect women. So it's like an interesting dynamic, but some of it relies on men being shitty. So I think that that's something to keep in mind. It's like, yeah, what happens if the shitty guy decides to resist and then she has to shoot him? That's not fair to who, all right? Like, it's not fair to the woman. You know what I mean? Like, who wants to shoot somebody? You know?
And that I don't believe is something where you talk about de-escalation. If you have to go to your tool belt because you cannot physically restrain a 250-pound man on PCP.
But do you
Well, okay, so then maybe you just don't call the woman for a PCP call. I feel like, you know what I mean? Like that's like specifically for that call, maybe you don't send the woman out first. I don't know. I get what you're saying there, but
you have to, because I'm saying between men and women. I'm saying in the police force in general. Like, I don't remember the exact number, so I can't really quote on this, but I know for a fact that there is not enough training on de-escalation. Like, they barely do any training on it at all.
Probably true, yeah, probably. I mean,
I agree with the statement that
there's also not a lot of mental health training for police officers, which I get, man. It's kind of hard. Like, how are you going to expect a police officer to like train for mental health when they got C's in high school? Am I right? I don't know, but all jokes aside, it's not a police officer's responsibility to deal with those kind of issues, and it would be good for us to have alternatives. It'd be good if we had like alternatives. You know what I mean? Different types, I guess, police officers, some kind of nerd that comes there and says, "Oh, I understand people brain,"
I agree that they should train that robustly.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a multiple officer case for sure. The PCP, yeah.
You're saying like men and women, like women are physically smaller, we are biologically different. But I'm saying in general, you can't put the whole argument on just women rather than putting it on a structural problem.
Right. True, but think about this. Nobody thinks about this when they talk about women being cops. Oh, we can't have women being cops because they're physically inferior. Blah, 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 blah. What if we just let women play to their strengths? Imagine this, okay? You're a guy. You're robbing a store. You got a gun on you. You stole a Slurpee on Free Slurpee Day, but you also wanted to get yourself 5 taquitos for $5. Great deal, as long as you link your 7-Eleven rewards app. Not sponsored. You bolt out of there. Okay, there's a guy there. All of a sudden, I gotta confront the guy. And then you start shooting at the cops, right? Because he wants those taquitos, but he doesn't understand that the deal is already there, and they'll give you free stuff in there if you're a cop anyway. Or imagine it's a woman instead. You're running out with a gun. All of a sudden, she takes her big titties out. She takes her huge boobs out, and you're like, whoa! And it's like, oh my god! And you're mesmerized. You're like, oh, boom! She's got you. All you gotta do is play to your strengths, but they won't let you do that. So I'm just saying.
Right, and I believe the structural problem is because of the matriarchy and the problem with feminism trying to lower standards.
The matriarchy
to accommodate women.
Okay.
But can't you say it's also sexism because it's the idea that, like I was saying before, like you were talking about in the military how a lot of it is there's a lot of things given to women, and it's like men should be. We're talking about like, for example, mental health. For example, now we were saying that like
women are more likely to PTSD, be discharged.
But it's also because men aren't treated as seriously for it because it's like
that could.
Oh, is that like a statistic? Men are more likely to get PTSD, and what does that mean? Or women are more likely to get PTSD? And I really wish he would put sources for the stuff that he talked about, not just on the screen, which he didn't hear, but like in the comments. What is that? Female police officers higher chance of PTSD. I'm just wondering. Police and military studies often found no gender differences in PTSD. We compared 157 police officers and 124 female civilians on several variables, including traumatic exposure. Okay. Wait. Women are more than twice as likely to develop PTSD than men, but is that in police? 10% for women, 4% for men. There are a few reasons why women might get PTSD more than men. Women are more. That's not specifically to the police station though. So if they're higher likely to get PTSD, but that's just like a woman thing, then like I don't really care. Okay, PTSD among police officers, impact on critical decision making. Oh, this isn't even a study about women. This isn't even a study about women. Wait, there's no study about women and PTSD. Okay, so I can't find anything. Is this something? No, there's no statistic that I can find that's about women and the difference between women and men and PTSD when it comes to being a police officer. It's likely that women develop PTSD in general higher rates, but there's also like a lot of other factors like sexual assault and a lot of other issues. There is also probably something to do with men just trying to like deal with it more than women. Men are statistically like less likely to go to the doctor just for like general bullshit anyway. So okay.
Could be true. It's an inference, but I think your inference might be correct.
Yes. That could also be, instead of saying because of feminism, it could also be because of sexism.
Towards men? You may be correct on that. I think it's probably a little column A, a little column B. I think we have quite a lot of data that shows that men tend to perform better under high compression stress scenarios than women in general. There are always exceptions to the rule.
I'm going to say, bro, I'm definitely with my wife. Let me tell you, the other day, my mother-in-law calls me, and she's like, hey, I like your new hat. That's what she tells me. No, she called my wife, and I answered the phone, and I said, what's up? She's like, my car, the tires, flat, blah, blah, blah. Can you come pick me up and give me your car? I was like, yeah, no problem. I lent her my car. So my wife's freaking out now. She's having a meltdown. I'm like, relax, it's not a big deal. We're just going to go and switch cars. So we get there. I give my mother-in-law my car, or my wife's car, and then I take her car. And, both of them are kind of freaking out. The mom's like, okay, what you need to do is you change the tire, you do this, and she's like pulling all her crap out of the back of the car, so just go. Like, I'm fine, don't worry about it. My wife's freaking out as well. She's like, what do we do? So I put them back in the car. I just filled up the tire. It was low. It was low. What happened is the valve came out. But you could still put air in the tire. It was like really messed up. It wouldn't stay in the tire, but you could put it in. It would like slow leak. So I put it in and I just drove it to the mechanic real quick, and boom, we just left it there. Everybody's freaking out. It's like, it's not a big deal. I can take care of it. So that's just my anecdotal experience with women. And again, my mom's really good at high pressure situations because my mom's basically a man, but
and it tends to be more traumatic for women, and then especially when you
maybe. But I wonder if like if it's like if it has to do with like the way women are raised to an extent on like whether they deal with issues better or not. I wonder if there's a biological aspect, and I wonder if there's just like if you raise a woman to be more masculine, would they have a similar response?
You combine, right, sort of being on the receiving end of a traumatic injury in the military, same thing in the police force. But you mentioned de-escalation. Now you wrestle, so you have some understanding of, I would say, controlling or subduing the human body, right? That's what all grappling arts are, whether it's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling, judo. I do believe that should be trained in the police force, so that you don't have to use a weapon. I think that we need higher standards, as a matter of fact. I think every member of the police should have basic grappling capabilities so that they don't have to, for example, grab their gun or grab their gun.
Okay, I agree with that.
De-escalation. I agree with you, that's very important. Here's what I would argue is the reality of de-escalation. You can only de-escalate if you have the nuclear option. What do I mean? You can't de-escalate with a large, strong, likely inebriated man who doesn't want to go back to prison if he sees a small, weak woman trying to de-escalate.
Sure. So but this is such a specific situation. It says, they said in combat roles. I assume this would be more about the military. But yeah, so if you have a big dude, bring guys. I don't know. Always have a guy with a girl. Call for backup. And at the end of the day, if he's being too belligerent and you only got a woman there and she has to use the nuclear option, then I guess he's going to get nuclearized. I don't know what to tell you. Don't be a degenerate fuck that's fighting people. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? I get what he's saying. I'm just saying, yeah.
He knows that he has a trump card and he can attack you. Statistically, it happens a lot. De-escalation.
What does that mean? What happens a lot? Female police officers are attacked at disproportionately higher rates. What's the claim here? What is it? What is his thing? I'm assuming that makes sense that it's true. Are police officers at greater risk? It would make sense. I just wish that he would show us something that we could be like, okay. Okay.
Can only take place with formidable capability. And women don't have that physically, as a general rule. Not all women, and certainly most of the women in our police force today.
For me, I'm not disagreeing with your statement. I actually kind of agree with your statement. My only thing is, again, like I said, for de-escalation, when I think of de-escalation, I think of more like, you know, like physical therapy. You know how we learn about the cognitive, whatever. Like, you've ever heard about, like, you've ever taken a psychology class?
Sure.
Okay. And they teach us about like different things about the human like behavior and things like that. I feel like the way I think about it is I feel like cops should be taught that because they should be taught how to behave and like not behave, but you know how to like.
Sure, how to behave.
Yeah, but
I think it's a very important component of the job, right? I think it's a very important component to be able to de-escalate. And to be fair, most police civilian interactions, most of them are not violent.
Yeah.
But every single police officer, male or female, will have many violent interactions throughout their career. And it only takes one. And if you're not physically up to the task, and the women in our police force, the vast majority are not all of them, but the vast majority are not, that's a problem. If I can, let me give you, we've talked about the empirical and anecdotal story. And I come from a background, I've done judo, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, we don't really have wrestling in Canada, I think
oh, Canadian wrestling, sorry.
I know, it's not very good, yeah. There's the Olympic team, like Doris, and then everyone else. It doesn't happen in high school. But now I'm a new father, and I've also coached kids.
Sure.
And here's the problem too. You have a lot of moms, for example, who when they have sons, they will tell them if they're dealing with a bully, and I had this, they say, you walk up to him and you tell him that he better stop. You know, he needs to stop or else. Or you tell him that he needs to stop, that this is, you know, he's just doing it because he feels bad about himself. In other words, whatever techniques that are often told to young boys. It doesn't work if the bully knows he can kick your ass. That happened to me when I was young. I said, well, you know, stop, this is wrong, you need to stop doing this. The bully said, what? And kicked my ass. Only once I was able to physically defend myself could I de-escalate the situation. And then at that point I could say, look, do you really want to go this route? And that's what we actually teach children. We teach children, we teach them jiu-jitsu. The Gracies actually do this. I mean, it's important we teach psychology. We say, avoid it. And then if they continue to harass you, ask them, are you challenging me to a fight? So psychologically, the bully has a choice to make. Either yes, in which case you use what you know. Or if he says, most of the time he'll say no, it's de-escalated. But you can only ask that question if you know the answer is yes, then you can handle it. Women can't handle it if they're in an inner city and a man is on PCP. You can't de-escalate from a position of weakness. Does that make sense?
Here's the thing. Here's my biggest thing on why I think that there really should be women cops, and I don't think that people think about it enough. I think that it's time for there to be more female domestic abusers, and obviously we know that there are plenty of women getting the shit beaten out of them at home by their police officer husband. And now it's time for men to men should be able to take a few licks too now. A few licks as well. Okay? And that's the truth. It's like domestic abuse is much higher in police officer dynamics. I'm just saying, bro. It's time for let guys take a hit. You know what I mean? You know? It's true. Because I mean, come on, what kind of a pansy are you to dating a woman cop? Yeah, must be a little loser. I'm just kidding. I'm busting chops on that one. But yeah, okay. Sorry.
Kind of.
We didn't have nukes, and we told Russia. We told Russia to stop it. Think they care?
No.
No, exactly. So it doesn't matter. You can only have peace through.
Damn, Russia's a 6-foot guy on a 200-pound guy on PCP. Apparently, that's kind of true. Actually,
strength, de-escalation. If they know that when push comes to shove, there are consequences, and the statistics are really scary. Women, as far as being on the receiving end of violent attacks when they're police officers, it's not good. And I don't want to see that. I don't want to see women getting hurt because of some diversity.
I do. Sorry.
Quota. I don't think that's a good thing for women, and I don't think it's a good thing for the guy next door.
My thing is, I was talking to, I don't know where that guy went, but I was talking about something, and we were talking about how police need to be retrained. They get trained once, and then they go for the job.
It's unfortunate that this young girl, whatever, young lady, I'm an old boomer now, isn't saying like, hey, listen, I understand what you're saying, but like, what, like, pair them with a guy. If there's a guy on fucking PCP, I don't know, like, if he's gonna go fucking ballistic and you gotta shoot him. I don't know. Talk about how it's an outlier situation. About how when it comes to someone doing it on PCP, it's probably going to be something that's called in. Maybe you wouldn't want to send a woman there. Or you could just say, let her show him the boobies. He might stop. He might stop if he shows boobs. We don't really know. You got to use those. You got to use those moneymakers. You know what I mean?
Men too, I feel like over time, he was giving the example, it wasn't me, he was saying like, police officers gets trained at a job, freshly trained, whatever, physically built, whatever. Years go by, he gets fat, he gets slow, he doesn't get retrained, the training basically just leaves his head. I feel like, if you're talking about like that, it's honestly the same. It's like, I don't feel like...
No, I agree. I think that's terrible. I just don't think that the solution is a reverse nirvana fallacy of, well, then let's just lower the standards for everyone. I think we need to raise it. I think we're both agreeing we need to raise the standards.
Watch louder. Okay, cool.
I want Papa Gut to pee on my face, but just as a friend. There's nothing weird about that. I want him to pee on my face.